Hello, everyone. Those of you coming in from the queue, we're just about to get started. And welcome. My name is John Walicki. I'm a Watson Internet of Things developer advocate. And I travel the US. I run hackathons and conferences and workshops and speak on webinars. I'm really delighted that you chose to join the session today. I think we're going to have fun for the next 45 minutes to an hour. We'll do some Q&A. And we'll wrap up at the end. So what I hope to do over the next couple of minutes is share with you an end-to-end story. So you saw the title of this talk was Watson IoT Platform from Sensors to Insights. And truly that is what most deployments are about. It is not about just taking devices and putting them together and sending data and blinking lights. And although we will do a blinky light throughout the demo, ultimately you want to get insights, and that set of insights through a series of steps is ultimately why you would do a Internet of Things deployment. Both, and the reasons you would do that: one is you want to improve your customer experience. You might want to find increased productivity or efficiency for your product lines. And so the reasons for an IoT deployment are ultimately about improving some aspect of a consumer or an industrial or an efficiency standpoint. And so I'm going to take you over the next couple of minutes from end to end. We're going to do some sensors and we're going to get some insights. And there's about 50 steps between the two, which we'll go through, and I'll show you how you might want to build a similar thing. So what I'm going to do is share just 2 slides, and then we're going to come back and do live demo, because I would much prefer live demo. You probably all have been watching the sessions and are deathly tired of looking at slides. I'm not going to do a lot of slides. And to start that off, we'll just do an introduction slide, and I'll turn that on now. And so quick introduction again, John Walicki, and I'm a Watson Internet of Things developer advocate. Here's how to find me on Twitter. We're going to talk about the Watson Cognitive APIs and Watson IoT. And then really why we're here today is to gain from sensors down at the bottom. We're going to build from starting in the lower left corner all the way up to insights. And we're going to go through a whole variety of steps. We're going to take some sensor and we're going to attach it to Arduino, and we're going to send that to an Intel NUC edge gateway. We're going to do some edge processing. Then we're going to send the important data over MQTT up to Bluemix and IBM's cloud platform. We're going to ingest it into the Watson IoT platform. We're going to do some real-time analytics. As the data is arriving, we're going to set some alerts, and we're going to take some actions. We're going to process that using Node-RED and the visual programming language open source project that IBM founded several years ago is now part of the Linux Foundation and JavaScript Foundation. We'll introduce you to Node-RED. We're going to take a look at the Watson IoT dashboard, what types of alerts and real-time data you might be able to visualize in the dashboards. We're going to store that processed data in a database, and we're going to actually record an historian and historical analysis of the data as it's arriving. I turned on this demo a couple of days ago, so I've got a lot of data points. We're going to jump over to the IBM data science experience. And as part of the data science experience, it's about then the analytics, because honestly, collecting data is not important until you analyze it. And IBM has a set of algorithms and tools to help you with the insights and the analytics of your data sets. We're going to bring the data from our demo here and our edge gateway and our sensors into a Jupyter notebook, and we're going to do some analysis on it. We're going to use a open source project called Pixie Dust that IBM has created. We'll do going to use that for visualization, and we're going to find some insights in our data. And so let's get started with the demo. I'll share this one slide with you all, because here's, in the next 45 minutes or so, 40 minutes, we're going to go through all of these steps. All right, so to show you that it's real, so what I have here is it's an Intel Arduino, and I have, of course, a blinky light and a temperature. I've got a rheostat potentiometer. We got an LED, and it is connected to an Intel. I'll pick this up carefully. So this is an Intel NUC. You all probably have one of these if you're an Intel customer. I've taped over the power button because in one of my walkthroughs I turned it off and made my demo crash quite dramatically. We're going to avoid that today. All right, so that is the Intel NUC. That is our edge gateway. Here we have our edge sensors. And so let's go turn on our browser here. And we're going to walk you through the set of demos. All right, so that's the end of me. I'll see you in about 30 minutes back for Q&A. All right, so you all should see my browser session. This is a Firefox session here, and what we're looking at is the Intel gateway. It's actually running on the Intel NUC, and you'll notice that it's on my local LAN. It's on my home network, protected behind a firewall. And then, of course, in the Intel NUC, I also have some firewall rules turned on. But I have a potentiometer, and so those of you who have not seen a NUC before, it's using Node-RED to show you that little gauge and a line graph, and so I can move the potentiometer up and down. One of the nice features of the Intel NUC is the fact that it includes a set of tools, and the Node-RED is one of the tools. Node-RED is an open source project. It was created by Nick O'Leary and Dave Conway-Jones at the IBM Pursley Lab in 2012, 2013. They open sourced it and built a pretty good following. Last year, in October 2016, it became an open source project under the governance of the JavaScript Foundation and the Linux Foundation. So we're really delighted about that. We've got a whole variety of partners contributing to Node-RED. I'm a committer, and Node-RED, and we're really delighted that Intel and others have picked it up and incorporated it into their solutions, because it's a nice way to visualize data. So here I've actually got a couple of them, a couple of flows. So here's Node-RED. I'll just quickly introduce it to you. You have a palette of nodes on your left side, and you can go grab your palette and you can wire things together. So here I've taken a inject node and a debug node. Think of debug as your print statement. And I can inject a string, and maybe that string is hello world. And I can say done. And when I hit deploy, I've actually built myself, let me just go say deploy, and see here we've done a hello world. Okay, so that's hello world. And now we can go and delete that. I'll hit the delete key, and the hello world will disappear. So I've built a couple of flows. These are called flows. They're on a variety of tabs. And then the first one, I have there are a set of libemra libraries that are nodes here on the left. And so I've dragged a few of them out, and I'll show you those. And so this one, I grab the accelerometer data from the Arduino, and I'm pushing that into an accelerometer alert. This is a function, and I'm going to look for some alerts here. And if I shake you don't see me shaking it, but here on the right side in a debug, you see me shaking the Arduino, and I'm getting accelerometer data off of the the Intel Arduino board. And I'm passing that into a debug and an alert, and I can change the LED to tell me whether I want it to be on or off. Okay. All right. So that's just a little quick demo of Node-RED and the Arduino. We know it's working. Let's go and turn to the next tab. We'll clear the debug so we can focus on the temperature. So I also connected a temperature to my Arduino. And so I'll turn on the debug here so we can see we're getting 81 degrees here in our office. And so I'm just bleeping out the temperature local. And I'm going to take that temperature, and here I'm just going to drop it from, I'm getting Celsius, so I convert it to Fahrenheit. And so that's a little formula for Fahrenheit. And I pass it over to another function where I'm going to put that message payload in a structure so I can send it up to the Watson IoT platform. And I turn it into a JSON object. Those of you not familiar with JSON objects, essentially we can write a JSON object as part of the very popular with JavaScript. And we're going to send that data to two different places. Well, three. Debug, you see over here on the right. But more interestingly is we're going to send it to Quick Start. And just very quickly introduce you to Quick Start. You can visualize your data on the Watson IoT platform. Now, beautiful thing about Quick Start, it's very fast. You see data very quickly. There's no security around it, so it's public data. But it's a nice way to just visualize, hey, am I sending data from my NUC through the network, out my firewall, across the public broadband, up to Watson IoT platform? And in this case here, I've been getting data for the last couple of minutes. And so I can make it hotter or colder. So here I'm touching the temperature sensor, the Grove Kit sensor. And as I touch it, I make it warm and cold. And so that's a great way to just visualize, am I sending data up to the platform? And it kind of sticks around 80 degrees. I can make it drop up and down, depending on how warm. I actually put it close to the Intel NUC, and that throws off some heat too. All right, so Quick Start, very simple. Just does a line graph of the data as it's arriving here. It's not intended to do any analytics, but we see it's arriving. More interestingly enough is I can go and send that data to the, not only can I ingest it in Watson IoT platform, but I also can do a registered device. And so I've created a variety of registered devices up in Watson IoT platform. I have a device type, and here I'll show you my credentials. So I have a device type called an Intel NUC device, and a device ID of John Walicki NUC Devfest for our session today. I gave it a token, an authentication token, and an organization. I'm going to send the data up to Watson IoT platform. All right, so now, so great. Where's it going, John? Show me the other side of this. And before I do that, I want to introduce you to Bluemix a little bit. If you've not yet been to Bluemix, the first thing you would do, of course, if you got yourself a new tab, is you go to bluemix.net, create yourself an account. And the nice thing, and since I already have an account, I really can't show you the creation panel. One page, your email address and your name. Essentially, that's it, and your phone number. No credit card. You get an email. You confirm that you're not a robot, and you're in. You've got yourself a free trial, and the freemium model allows you to experiment with Watson IoT and Bluemix and all of the Watson cognitive services for free. There's obviously limits on the API calls per day, but easy way to get started and experiment with Bluemix and the IBM public cloud. One of the beautiful things inside the catalog is a set of boilerplates. We know there are patterns that many developers may follow to create an application. And since you can wire them together through a set of API keys, we actually have done that for you. Because if there's a pattern to it, and you have a palette of fun things that you can build from, take the building blocks, snap them together, we can actually do some of the heavy lifting for you. And we call them boilerplates, schematics. And so in my case, I chose an Internet of Things platform starter. And when I clicked on it, I gave my app a name. So I'm going to build a Cloud Foundry starter. And as part of this, I have a Node.js server and a cloud and database and a Watson IoT platform instance. And I can choose to make it light or standard. So we have different pricing models depending on the types of data, amount of data, and types of analytics you might want to do on the platform. We have different types of data, databases. And I had given it a name. And after I completed the name, I hit create. And so I built one. And matter of fact, I built 20 of them as I build demos for a variety of different scenarios. Here we see a few of them are running. I have the IoT data science app. But more interestingly enough, I have a John Walicki Intel IoT gateway instance, and it's using 512 meg of memory. I've got one instance deployed. I can deploy multiple instances across the IBM cloud in different geographies. So in Europe and the Americas and over in AP, I can do fault tolerance and redundancy by spinning up more instances of my application. For our demo today, I just built it in the US South Dallas data center. And so that's where it's running. A container is running my Cloud Foundry application. All right, so here is what that looks like. And so now if I go click into it, I have those 3 instances. So actually 2 instances. Remember, I use the IoT platform instance. I have a cloud and database instance. And I've actually included a variety of other services that I can, microservices from the Bluemix catalog. I can add Watson, and we can do that. I'll go connect existing. So I've built a lot of instances already. And here I have from the catalog a whole variety of instances that I've spun up using Watson Cognitive Services. I'll just hit the back button. I'm not going to connect anymore because I'd have to restage my app to bring those microservices in. I can individually wire them up with API keys. I don't really need to do that now. I've built it already. And so you can extend your application using these set of API keys and additional cognitive services. Maybe you want to add speech to text or text to speech or language translation or natural language processing or some of our cognitive services around personality insights or sentiment or the trade-off analytics. And so we've got a whole variety of cognitive Watson services that can that have already been pre-trained with machine learning models, and you can add them to your applications in just a couple of clicks. And so that's what I showed you there. So I have an application, and I told you it was a Node-RED IoT platform starter. One of the nice features is that we've already pre-configured Node-RED on IBM Bluemix, and I can go to my flow editor, not on the Nook, but on the cloud. So I'm actually going to go to Node-RED on the Bluemix side. And so I've started that up, and I have, again, a couple of flows. I'll make that a little bit bigger for you all so you can see. And I'll describe them as we go here. And so in this one, remember I told you I was sending data from the cloud, from the edge gateway up to Watson IoT platform, and it's arriving here And so what I did, I have an edge rule. Let me just show you that too. I'm going to go switch. We're going to go back 5 or 6 tabs, and you'll notice that I'm sending data, and so I can do edge analytics here, and I can choose how much data, when to do data. I can build my rules on the edge if I chose to. And again, on the server side, I can do more edge analytics. I don't want to store every sensor reading. I can do here in this case, I'm limiting one message every 5 seconds instead of every second. I can throttle the data that I'm going to store in my database. Maybe I want to do some analysis of it. And you'll notice that Node-RED here is from that quick start. I've configured it to grab from the quick start. I also have configured it to grab from the Bluemix service, and I can bring that data in as well by wiring it up. So a couple of different things. So I can print out the data. So let's go show you that. And we'll just hit a default. So here I'm getting sensor data from my NUC and the Arduino every second, but I don't want every second. I'm going to do some rate limits. I'm going to add a timestamp to it because this is an historian time series database. And I'm going to store that in a Cloudant database, and I gave it a name, Intel Gateway Temperature Readings. And so now we're storing a couple of hundreds or 1,000 or so data points in our database. And I'm actually doing some other data analytics here. So you'll notice I'm grabbing the temperature out of, I sent it up as payload.d.temp, and I'm going to take a look. Did I exceed 82 degrees or not? And so let's go see what our temp is. And we'll just see what the temp, we're going to make it hot. Let me go turn this on. I'll show you how it works. There we go. So I'm getting 83. And so let's go change our temp because I'm probably getting warmer in here. So let's go change it to 85 because we can warm it up a bit. 85 degrees. I'll drop down to 81 and we'll deploy. All right, so now, so we're going to change, I'm going to put my finger on the temperature threshold, and the ambient temperature in my office here was in the low 80s. Now you'll see it kicked up to 87. And so in this case, hopefully you just heard my phone beep. I just got myself an alert. And because whereas in the past it was safe, now I'm getting a danger message. And let me just hit so you'll see here that I'm getting, I'll turn that on. So I'm getting critical temp. So it's now critical. And in the critical case, I actually set myself up using the Twilio node. I used a telephone number and my Twilio account, which is a free trial, so I can text an alert to my phone. If I turn that on and dropped out of, I can wave my phone at you, and I've received a Twilio alert. I'll go read that to you here. It says, sent from your Twilio trial account, temperature 85.4 is critical. And so I've now, I've cooled it down, and you see how it's cool within the safe limits. If I go touch that thermostat again, it's now critical. And you'll notice that I will get an alert as well. Okay, it should be arriving. All right, so now you see I did some edge analytics. I did some real-time analytics as I was receiving the data in Node-RED. And so let's continue our little journey here. And we're going to drop you back down to another service. So remember, in our dashboard, I showed you, I must have exited out of here. So when I created that Cloud Foundry application, one of the services that I created was the IoT platform. And so what I did was I'm going to show you that. So here I have my IoT platform, and I can go launch into that. And now I've launched into it. So when you arrive in the IoT platform, there's a set of boards, there's a set of devices and some rules. And we're going to go through a number of these tabs to show you how you can build real-time insights into your data ingestion. And so the first thing, of course, you want to start with is devices. And so this is a demo for Intel NUCs. So I've got a number of different NUC devices. I created a device type, actually two different types of device types. There is an Intel NUC device and an Intel NUC gateway. And you'll notice that I've got two of them connected here. So those are not connected. I used them previously. And I created two devices, one a device, one a gateway, because I can do gateway rules and I can do device rules. And they're both connected. You'll see them from the little data here. I can click on one of them. And here you'll see that I'm getting data. This is the real-time data as it's arriving in the Watson IoT platform. And it's 80 to 83.16. And it's 2:06 p.m. Eastern time here on Saturday. And I'm sending d.temp. So as the data is arriving, I see it in real time, a particular device. All right, well, that's just a list here. So let's build some interesting things with it. So I went over to the rules engine, and here is a rule. So I've activated the rule. So this one here, it's called IoT Devfest. And in this case here, so it's if the temperature is greater than 80, what I'm going to do is trigger an email. And so I'm sending an email as an alert. Okay. And so I can build edge rules into right from IoT platform. I can build some actions and some rules and take some real-time insights from my data. Now, we also built a set of dashboards in the Watson IoT platform, and you can go look at the rules, analytics, and the usage data. So we'll start with usage because a lot of people are like, well, how much is it going to cost me? So the first 200 megabytes a month is free, and 200 gigabytes is free. And so here I've got a number of devices, and I've sent one close to 2 megabytes today. And so here's my usage for the month. All right, let's just jump over to back to the boards, and we're going to go take a look at our device-centric analytics here. And so I'm going to go select one of them. So this is the one that's getting data. So I actually built a little chart, and so I can do visualization. I'll make it warmer, and here the data is arriving. And so you see that I've just kicked it up to 898 degrees, which is a normal body temperature. And so here we go. All right. And so that's data arriving, and it's cooling down as I let go of it. And then we're going to jump over to some of our other boards, and let's go take a look at these. So here, it's another view of the data, and as it arrives, I want this one. You can see the temperature in your device properties and the rules. All right, so pretty easy way to visualize and set rules in IoT platform, and we can do both from Node-RED and from the platform itself. We are able to do some analytics, real-time analytics and insights via Twilio, via alerts and emails, and all fun. All right, so now remember I told you we were going to do analytics, and now we're going to do an historical view. So I'm storing this data in a database, and I'm storing it in a cloud database. And I'm going to go launch that here in a tab. I'll hit refresh. I'll show you that I've got 36, almost 3,700 readings that I've stored in this particular database. And we can go look at this database, and I can include documents, and you can see that the temperature was 79.2 degrees. I had the air conditioning running earlier. All right, so now we've stored 3,000 records in this database. That's not yet interesting. What we really want to do is do some analytics on it. And IBM has a set of analytics tools, and we built a landing page called datascience.ibm.com. And I've actually logged in already. So again, you can create yourself a free trial account. Here, when you sign in, you'll see that you have a Bluemix account. And the things you can build are projects. I'll just jump back to the original dashboard here. So a whole variety of articles about today in data science. It's a hot topic for many of us. I'm not a data scientist, but I've been able to use data science experience to do some cool stuff. Not a SQL guy, but I've learned enough SQL over the last year or so that I can show you what might you be able to find insights out of your data. And I've done that. So so I actually have a number of notebooks already created. So I go over to projects, and here's oops, I clicked on the wrong one. So I'm going to go over to the Intel notebook. And so in the case here, so I'm going to use Pixie Dust, which I'll introduce. So have you guys been inside of a Jupyter notebook before? This is a great open source tool, help you manage and use Apache Spark. And so the Jupyter notebooks behind this is Apache Spark, and we're going to you apply Apache Spark to our cloud and database of temperature readings. And we're going to use some visualization tools called Pixie Dust. And so the first thing, you kind of walk through it. It's a little bit of Python. You also can use this with Scala and R. I chose Python and the Jupyter notebook, and we can run each one. All right, so we're installing Pixie Dust here. We're downloading it, and we're going to set up our Jupyter notebook. And when that actually had previously done it, I can import it into our why it's paused here. Don't know why it's paused. Demos. Okay, hit run again. Never quite know how to restart the Jupyter Notebook kernel. All right, let's see if that did it. Hit run. I think that's run already. I'll hit run here. So now I have I've set my API keys for the Intel Gateway temperature readings, and I've been able to select that. And let me go hit run here. This is going to go grab the first couple of hundred readings here. And so actually what I'm doing is showing you that I've extracted from the database a number of the first 20 rows. And so here was the temperature of the first 20 rows. Here we go. Now I want to go analyze this data. So there's the data live. And so that I went and grabbed a couple of rows of the 3,000 in the database. And now I'm going to use the Pixie Dust, which is an open source project for visualization. And I've got myself a little table here that I can do visualization with. I just showed you the time series. I can go and change how I might want that data to be represented. using pixie dust. And now at the very bottom, so remember, we can apply analytics to this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to calculate the average temperature for the 3,000 records is 80.69. Standard deviation is 3. The high temp was 105. And so I can extract the mins and maxes. I could actually do, if I wanted to, I could say min on temp from that particular database, and I'm going to go hit run again. Oops, I need a comma. Sorry. Hit run again. Of course, I need to spell temp right. This is the beauty of demos. All right, here we go. So now I showed you max, and then the max was 105, but the min was 73, and my standard deviation. So I can start to do z-scores and standard deviations, and I can start to look for anomalies in my data sets, which ultimately is where we want to get to. That insight that I mentioned at the very beginning of this is can I look at this data set, find the mins and maxes, find the anomalous behaviors. What happened when it was 105 degrees? What happened when it was 73 degrees? Well, the air conditioner was on, or I was holding the temp, and I set my alerts for those things. So I can actually visualize my data based on the historical view, not just the real-time. It's important to act on real-time data, because if your production line is about to fail, you can very quickly shut it down or alert the production management or the line workers. But that's real-time insights, and that's important. You also want to analyze your data. And so what I showed you here was I can go back through the historian and look through the data sets using data science experience to look for the insights. All right. So give you a couple little backgrounds about Pixie Dust. So Pixie Dust is an open source project that IBM has contributed. It's a set of visualization analytics tools that helps you find insights in your data analysis. I found it particularly useful because I mentioned I'm not a data scientist and I wanted pretty charts. And so when I saw Pixie Dust, I said, oh, this is perfect, because I wrote my first couple of SQL queries last year and said, okay, great, I got a table. How do I visualize it? And Pixie Dust came to the rescue. And so all I needed to do there was import the Pixie Dust Python library and tell it to display the data. And I can change how the charts look. And so do encourage folks to go out to developer.ibm.com and take a look at some of our data cloud data services. Pixie Dust being one of our open source projects. You can build some really nice graphical visualizations here, much fancier than mine, but very powerful. All right, so maybe you want to learn more about data science experience and Jupyter Notebooks. One of my colleagues, Romeo Kleinser, has built a little recipe out on DeveloperWorks, and the short URL for this, I'll drop into the chat, is ibm.biz/cognitive IoT. I encourage everyone to check that out. And you can come to this page and follow the steps. It walks you through how to create and he has a little virtual washing machine that does vibration and spin, speed, and voltage usage. And so you set up, you use Node-RED and Bluemix, of course, to do that. in his little demo, walks you through all the setup of that IoT startup. You import using Node-RED a set of flows, and we make that available to you. And then you can wire it together, import the data. You fire it off, and you're going to create a clouded database of washing machine data. It runs for a couple of minutes, create your data sets. Then you're going to jump over to data science experience like I had showed you, and do some analysis, look for the anomaly behaviors, and he shows you how to do all of that right in Jupyter Notebooks. So pretty clever. He's a brilliant scientist. And so I encourage you to take advantage of the step-by-step as opposed to just me teaching you about it. Okay. Now, if you want to learn more, we actually have a course. It's available in Coursera. It's called Exploring and Visualizing IoT Data. And so Romeo is the lead for the creation of this. And it walks you through several weeks of lessons, short videos and lessons and workshops and assignments. And so it takes about a week or so to go through all the steps. And you submit your results for grading, and you get a certificate and a badge at the end that you completed a data science and data analysis course. So very powerful. And then, as I mentioned, Pixie Dust is open source. Of course, Bluemix takes advantage of a whole variety of open source tools, and Node-RED included. And so let me just do a quick summary. And so I understand that the recordings will be available in the Intel Global Devfest. Come back to this website, Intel with the Best, and you can use the Be My App platform here to review the recordings of the video. Let me just do a quick summary of what we just learned. All right, so we took a sensor reading from my Arduino and my temperature, and I sent it to the Intel NUC for Edge Analytics and the Edge Gateway. I took the important data and I sent it through MQTT to Bluemix and the Watson IoT platform, where I had built an application to ingest the data and do some real-time analytics using a set of rules and alerts in Watson IoT platform. And then I passed that data to Node-RED. I did some additional analytics, and I tweeted or texted a phone number based on a set of thresholds and alerts. I stored that incoming data in a cloud database. I pulled that data into Data Science Experience into a Jupyter Notebook, where I set myself up with Apache Spark and a number of SQL queries. I found the min, the max, the average, and I plotted the data using Pixie Dust visualization. I had a set of graphs, time series graphs, where I could look at my data over the last several days. And out of that, I found some insights, right? The standard deviations and the mins and maxes and the Y, okay? And so in the last 40 minutes or so, I've walked you through all of those steps. Hopefully you learned a little bit about Watson IoT platform and how to use sensors, and a lot of it is plumbing. At the end, you as a developer need to provide your teams that are using the data some insights. And that's really the point of our project, right? It's not just, can I blink a light or beep a phone? It's, can I take it edge to edge and edge to cloud to analytics to insights? All right, well, thanks everyone for joining. We'll stop here. I'll sign off. This was John Walicki and Watson IoT platform. Enjoy the rest of your conference. Bye now.